This is Tony Merendino. I'm the CEO of ServIT, and I'm about to explain our first quarter event with the CEO Alliance. And we are in the first quadrant of learning, for lack of a better definition. And we discovered that our company had approximately 20 butterfly effects. Let me give you some understanding of what that means. ServIT is a technology company, and one of our offerings is we do maintenance on printers and systems. Bill came into our facility, helped us understand where we were, and at the end of the conversation with the leadership team, he came up with an idea that said, why don't we understand how you actually do maintenance? Well, we collect monthly revenue, and then we guarantee the person, the travel as a free charge, sort of like car insurance. What we discovered was, through Bill, is that we needed to make more of the printing more unified. He also recommended that we would put all of the parts that were necessary around our service areas in a briefcase. So let me tell you how that affected us. We spent about $80,000. What he realized is we were spending about $500,000 a year on Federal Express. Once the parts were in the hands of the technicians, our same-day fix went from 60% to over 90%. Our Federal Express bill dropped to $40,000 a year. And that wasn't just in 1 year, that was an effect that happened every year. So by investing $80,000 in like and similar parts and distributing them, ServIT recognized about a $460,000 a year annual savings with a one-time spend of about 80 grand. So that's what a butterfly is. You look at something small and you understand how it affects it downstream. That was an older example. Let me give you something that's very germane and very hot for us. When the banks changed in 2007 and 2008, they came into our facility and said that we no longer needed a line of credit. We weren't even using a line of credit, but they said most small businesses were living out of that, which we weren't. So they took us from what our payroll was, which was a $500,000 line of credit, down to 200. We actually came up with a butterfly that said we're never going to use a bank again. And what we did is we came up with a program called 1%. Every single check that came into our building, we saved 1% and actually put it in a separate bank up to $250,000, which is, from a banking perspective, that's up to the insurance level. And every time we got to 250, we moved it to another bank. Once we got to 6 figures and then to 7 figures, we realized we had enough money to cover self-funding our line of credit. So those are some of the ideas by when you go to the CEO Alliance, you start understanding that you have the capacity to start understanding how your business is built, and as you have problems in the future, instead of fixing them quick, or quick fixes as we like to call them, you look at them more systemically or long term, and then you turn around and affect real change in your business that brings it all to the bottom line, known as profitability. So the soft money associated with a butterfly becomes magnified and realized after the fact, greater than even the hard dollars that are achieved. It's probably the single greatest thing we learned about capturing a butterfly. The unintended benefit manifests itself downstream more so than the obvious ones. So for example, when we talked about fixing the printer problems with shipping parts before we needed them and getting rid of the Federal Express bill, some of the softness that we're talking about that you really celebrate is technician bench utilization. So if a tech did not have the part, he's spending 3 or 4 trips doing the exact same thing. When that goes away, he becomes more efficient. My gasoline bills go down, my customer satisfaction goes up, I don't have to hire as many techs, which is significant money, which means my techs can now do more work before I hire a second or third tech in that town. In traditional cultures, is nobody wants to be wrong and we love being right. So trust breaks down. So when you build a team around unified trust, where everyone's ideas matters and thinking matters, you start looping and mapping out roadmaps to understand where you're going. And then you have the ability to use dashboards to see how you're doing, because we're going to make mistakes. So we take the dashboards, we turn around and say, look, this is broken here, let's all fix it. It's an it, not a person. And trust begins people start getting comfortable sharing their ideas, and so you have to be able to assess what you're doing so you can make manipulations and make adjustments along the way. Bill always mentions 10x, and I think it's a low number because as you continue down the butterfly capturing procedure and time goes on, so here's an example of what Bill means by 10x. So when someone's doing not worthwhile work because they're reacting, you don't realize it until you capture the butterfly, fix it, and move forward. So when we capture the butterfly around configurations, which is an example I haven't brought up today, is we found 600,000 a year of hired people that were reacting to a butterfly that never existed. Once we got rid of that, we've never hired back $600,000 of real payroll. Now that's the hard number. What about the laptops, the desktops, the education, the time off, the training, the management? Those dollars are 2 or 3 times that sometimes. So when Bill uses 10x, it's probably greater than that over time. To be generative, you must have your own recipe. So when you hire outside your firm, the company that they work for, whether it's IBM or AT&T or pick whoever, they bring their culture with them because they know that. They want to run the offense or run the culture that they came from. What we realize is once you become generative, everyone gets aligned around the same set of principles, the same goals, the same butterfly capturing techniques, and it breaks down their belief system or mindset, and it probably moves them into your culture quicker than ever before. So since I've had the pleasure of being under Bill's tutelage for over 10 years, and now I'm in the CEO Alliance quarterly event, we have a lot of understanding of how this affected us. We went from 22 salespeople down to 6, and we moved to almost, I think it's 100% still, 78 in a row, that when they visit us and they see our loops, they see our roadmaps on how we effectively manage them, they've signed anticlimatically. If somebody's truly trying to improve, I don't know what your means or method to do that. I was searching for someone like Bill my whole life. I was blessed, I found somebody. Systemic thinking is rare, it's lonely, but I don't know of another way to run a business. And by becoming part of the CEO Alliance, you move from linear thinking to systemic thinking, and it's a life-changing event because then it affects your personal life, your family life, your social life. You can't revert back. Once you learn to capture butterflies, it's everything you do every single day. It absolutely makes you a culture-driven company, not an asset-driven company. So if nothing else, if you're looking to continually improve as an owner, as a leader, a servant leader, I would recommend that this is probably the only venue that I've ever found that can do that.